Hey guys, welcome to Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. This is Jason Samkoviak, and it is a snowy day here. It is still hunting season. Okay, it's December 30th, so it would still be hunting season here in Michigan. A lot of you guys that are hunting in the upper, the upper northern states where you're dealing with snow like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Today we're going to be talking about keeping you safe while tree stand hunting in the winter. This is a big one. There's some things you're going to have to consider here. And as you can see, we just got fresh snow. I just got done plowing here and getting everything plowed out. But now we want to take a minute and think about this, okay? If you look at the terrain out here, you got snow out here, you got cold weather, you got all these kind of conditions out here that you got to deal with. There are going to definitely be some major issues with the trees, climbing them, and that kind of stuff. First of all, you're going to need to have some thicker layers on, okay? Now, this is actually, I've been out here now for an hour and a half plowing, and I am in just a t-shirt and this jacket. This is some old saddle cloth from Cabela's that I've had for many years. It keeps you nice and warm, especially riding around on a four-wheeler there, plowing snow and getting stuff done. But, when you're active and moving, you don't need as much clothing. But when you are going to be sitting in a stand, in a tree, you're going to be mounted up here somewhere hunting, doing that kind of stuff, sitting still, you're going to freeze your butt off, okay? So you got to have the extra insulation layers. If you walk into the woods with those insulation layers on, you're most likely going to be sweating and miserable, and then you're going to get cold, and it's going to be a bummer. So you need to make sure that you have a pack big enough that you can carry some of your insulation layers in and put them on when you're in the field, okay? When you get to the stand site, that's when you want to dress up. Let yourself cool down for a second, put them on. If you're not bringing a pack, it's also a perfect time to use a jet sled. There's a jet sled junior and a jet sled original, or OS1 as they call it, or jet sled 1. The original one and a junior one. I've done many videos on them. But take that take that jet sled, throw your pack, your stands, your sticks, and your extra layers in that thing, and you can drag that. These make no noise on the snow. Okay, I mean, in the leaves, they may be a little more noisy, but when you put this sled in the snow and you go walking it to your stand site like that and you grab it, it is dead quiet. Okay, it's quiet going in and out, so it doesn't make any noise, so it's very convenient in the winter. And then if you kill a deer, you also have a way to drag them back out. So a jet sled is a fantastic hunting tool for many purposes, but also for winter hunting, because you can put your gear in that. Keep yourself from getting heated up by carrying all that extra gear in your pack and on you. You can put it all right in a jet sled and be ready to roll. So that is a very valuable tool. I'll have links down below for this stuff for you. Right next to where it says the title of this video on your phone. If you click that little down arrow, it'll drop down the description, and I'll have text, or right in that text, I'll have links to this stuff. But a jet sled's a great idea. Now, as far as other things, your clothing-wise, that's an important factor, but there's some things to remember. Glove-wise, I use basically two combinations. Now, I do not hunt with gloves on my hands when I'm actually in the stand. When I'm up in the stand and I'm all set up, I want to use a muff. I don't have one handy out here, and my wife will kill me if I walk in with my boots to show you, but I will put links down below for you to hand muffs. They're just, they got that strap on them. You put your hands in them, and they keep, right here around your waist, and your hands go inside of them, and it keeps you nice and warm. That's what I use. I use them when it's 30 degrees, and I use it when it's 10 below. I always use that muff. It keeps my hands warm, but leaves my hands open to grab my bow and to be able to shoot with. In those super single-digit freezing temperatures, I go straight to a jersey glove, like we have right here. Just your standard, here's one right here, just a jersey glove. Okay, I got bunches of them right there too. I buy them in these 12 packs. But just a jersey glove I use a lot. These I'll get into in a minute, those rubber ones. But jersey gloves are what I use because they keep my hand warm, but I still feel that bow really well. If you go to a glove like this, which I use these a lot, these mechanics type gloves, all of these extra things on here bother me on my bow hand when I'm shooting. I don't like having all that stuff on there. But I do like these for walking in, and you can see they're tore up from setting stands up. Hanging stands and that kind of stuff. But I love the mechanics brands. I'll put some links below, but they're warm and they're comfortable, and they also, when you have them on your hand, we see here, hang on. Well, when I put them on, they give me good dexterity in the fact that my tips, see the fingertips don't compress, that's because my fingertips fit in these very well. So when I'm working buckles and stuff, I have the mobility with these kind of gloves to do that. Yet they give me good thick insulation on them, and they give me dexterity. So I like using the Mechanic brand gloves a lot. The other setup that I've been using here that works really good is a regular jersey glove inside of one of these rubber gloves. And the reason I do that is because of the fact that it gives me the warmth from the jersey glove, and it gives me the waterproof part on the front. So when I'm hanging stands, I'm not, that water's not seeping through like it can on some of these. Now, these have been very well. These have been beat up, but in the beginning, they held up pretty good. Were pretty waterproofed. I think I sprayed them with some Quick Camp Quick Dry or whatever, too, in the beginning. They've done well, but this system here is nice, because then when you do rip through them, you can just make a new set. They're dirt cheap. But basically that, if I put that on, set you down for 1 second while I put it on, I can show you here. But you can see the same kind of thing on here. I have full dexterity. See, nothing squishing. I'm not fighting that access glove material on my fingertips. So they work perfect. They keep you warm with the insulated jersey glove, and I have that waterproofness on them. So it makes them very functional as a combo glove setup. And so I've been running those a lot. That simple, cheap, dirt cheap. I buy these by the dozen and these by the dozen, and they'll get you through 2 years, plus many other things. I use these gloves for all sorts of things. But gloves are going to be important for you. Now, when it comes to your stands and your setup, here's where it gets tricky in the winter. Because in the wintertime, you are wearing thicker boots, okay? You got thick, heavy boots on. When you have thick, heavy boots on and you are climbing on these little steps, they can get a little tricky. When you are climbing in the winter and you are hanging your stand, you need to go slow. Slow, slow, slow. Make every foot placement very slow. Follow the 3-to-1 rule. 3 points of contact at every given time. That means you always have 2 feet in one hand or 2 hands in 1 foot. Never cheat that system, because again, this is where things can go ugly real quick. You can slip, fall, get hurt. You got so much insulation in your boots that you do not have the feeling like you do in lighter boots where that step is and where your foot is on that step. And it's a perfect time to slip a step. Matter of fact, of the 5 times in my life in 20-something years that I slipped a step, 4 of them have been in the wintertime. So keep that in mind. So it can be dangerous. It can be tricky. You want to make sure you're paying attention to all those kind of things. Then you add in the element of snow packed in the cleats on your boot, which are going to be slippery as well too. It gets to be kind of a hairy situation, so be very cautious doing it. Other thing you need to consider is that when you are wearing bulkier clothes like this, you cannot lift your leg as high as you normally would. Okay, you got all this insulation on, and in that crotch, going to bind those pants up. You're not getting that leg way up here high like you normally would in the summertime or in the fall. So knowing that, you have to keep your sticks closer together. If that means you add an extra stick, you add an extra stick. But you are going to have to keep that stick spacing closer together so that you can get up there without letting your clothes interfere and screw you up. Again, good way to fall and get hurt. Another thing you want to consider too when you're doing that is cable aiders and aiders. Okay, this is my aider that's on here right here. Okay, this aider works great in the summertime. In the wintertime, it works good too on the bottom step. But if you're somebody who uses multiple aiders going up the tree, like an aider on every step, wintertime might be the time to dump the aider setup and go back to some full sticks or throw in an extra stick and forget the aiders above the first one for the safety factor. Again, those thick insulated boots, the way they swing around a tree, the way there's so many variables, the lack of actual grip you have on everything else because of it being wintertime, your hands are cold, you're wearing gloves, all these issues. It's a good time for something to go wrong if you're using aiders on your second, third, fourth stick, that kind of thing. Wintertime like this, suck it up and take the extra weight and do it the right way to keep you safe. That's my thoughts. Now, you may do differently, but in my opinion, the aiders, keep them on the bottom step only in the wintertime. Now, buckles are another one. You have to protect these straps and these buckles in the winter, okay? It's mandatory. On your sticks too, the straps and the buckles have to be protected. What I mean by that is if these get wet, say you throw them in the back of your truck, heading out there, okay, and you had snow in the back of your truck, and that snow blows all over your stand, and then you get out there, and then, as you're driving out there, the sun's beating down on it still, and then these get wet. If these get wet at all, they will freeze, and then they're going to slip through the buckles, if you can even get the buckles to move. Sometimes these freeze so solid you can't even undo the straps. So, but you will have issues with your buckles and your straps if they get wet and then freeze again. It will be a nightmare to deal with, and it will be a very unsafe situation. Protect them at all costs. So if you have a pickup truck in the wintertime, rather than throwing your rig here in the bed of your truck, keep this in the cab, so that this stuff can dry out, stays dry inside, and doesn't get wet. That's a safety factor there, because if they're frozen, you're screwed. You're in major trouble, so you don't want that to happen. Even with the yak grips on there, these buckles will still freeze up on you if they get wet in there. And if these straps are wet, it's a nightmare. So another danger factor that you got to deal with. Also, understand that your stands and your sticks will make a lot more noise in the wintertime. The cold weather will. Now, the cast platforms of a lone wolf stand, they don't have that issue. But if you're using a regular tubular steel, I don't think I even own any more of them anymore, do I? Up there, I do not. I just got lone wolf ones, but I don't. But you know what I'm talking about. You're actually extruded aluminum tube stands. The noise factor of those stands in the wintertime of every creak and pop is going to be magnified by at least 10. Okay, they're going to be that much louder for you. So that's going to be a major issue that you're going to need to take into account. You're going to have to really be cautious. Plus, you're going to have snow on the bottom of your boots. You're going to climb into your stand, and then you're going to sit still for an hour. The heat from your feet in your body are going to melt that snow that's under your boots. It is going to turn into a more watery snow. It is going to freeze to your platform. And then you are going to move your feet when it's time to shoot, and you're going to snap your feet. You're going to break out of that ice. They're going to make a lot of noise, and it's going to be like walking on, crunchy stuff there. You'll hear it. You'll know it. So you got to watch it. Again, one of the beautiful things of the cast platform, you don't have that as bad. Now, you still will. You'll get some snow that'll build up in these little parts here and some ice that will, but it's nowhere near as bad as the extruded aluminum ones. But they will use things that you have to watch for. Hunting in the winter is so much harder in the snow. Neck gaiters are phenomenal. Get yourself a neck gaiter. I'll put a link down below. They will keep you warm. Balaclavas are fantastic as well. That kind of stuff. But you have to take these things into consideration. Your harness will most likely not fit under you fit with all those clothing like you're used to. You are going to have to practice with that first. You are going to have to take the time and put that harness on over your clothes. Make sure you can hit your lineman belt loops. Okay, I've heard a story recently about somebody who was wearing his jacket over his harness, went to connect his lineman belt to what he thought was a lineman belt loop, and all he ended up doing was just hooking it on a piece of fabric from his jacket and almost bit it falling out of there when he went to lean back to get his hands free. You got to be able to have access to your lineman belt loops. You got to be able to have access to your tether. You have to be able to make sure all this stuff is in order, because if not, you're going down, and it's a quick trip from the top of that tree to the bottom, and that snow will not cushion you enough to save your life, I promise you. So the safety factor in the winter is unbelievably hard to accomplish. Okay, you have to put these things into perspective. You have to give yourself the extra time. If you're somebody who normally gets to the woods, 15 minutes before daylight, you better make it, a half hour. Give yourself that extra 15 minutes. If you're, like I can hang a stand in under 5 minutes, 3.5 minutes, what it takes me in the fall to climb up, hang a stand, and be ready to hunt. Now, in the wintertime, I make sure I give myself at least 10 minutes to do that process. Why? Because it's going to be exhausting, okay? It is going to be dangerous. You want to go slow, precise, make sure everything is spot on. It's also a good time, if you want to use a tether system, even though you're using a lineman belt. In the winter, a good safety factor, because of all these dangers, is to take a tether and then have your tether connected and run it like a double line, like a second lineman belt. Slide it up the tree with you as you go to keep you safe and protected in case. So you have the lineman belt, but you also have that tether. I cannot emphasize enough the danger factor of this. Now, another one that's really big too that we need to take into consideration is what happens when you get too cold on stand, okay? That's a big one. We're going to come right back, though. My arm's getting tired of holding this phone up. We'll be back. Sorry, 15 minutes of holding my arm up in the air. It's getting kind of tiring there. But with the other issue that you got to remember is your hands, okay? You're going to get cold on stand. Getting cold, shivering up there and wading, and that's okay. We all go through that. When you lose your hands, because of cold weather and you lose what you can do with your hands, you're not only done, you're dangerous because you cannot get back down a tree. You don't have the luxury of getting back down a tree. That's a bad thing. You've lost all your safety factor. Protect your hands and use them as a gauge. So when you're in stand and you feel your fingers starting to get cold, if you can't do this with your hands, okay, if you cannot do this with your hands, with both of them, then you need to get down, or you need to warm them before you get down. Okay, you need that dexterity, you need that control in your hands. Without it, you will fall. You may think you're going to be okay, and then you're going to grab onto a stick, and your fingers won't have you don't have the muscle tension to hold on, and you're gonna fall. Okay, this is important. So protect your hands. If you cannot get your hands, if you've already passed that point, or if it's at the point where your hands are getting pretty bad and you're in trouble, you got to get down, or you got to get your hands warm. Okay, I always carry chemical hand warmers in my pack, so if I need to in emergency, I can use them. Don't forget your stomach. Your stomach is the best way right here too. Okay, so you take your hands, undo your jackets, take your hands and put them right up in against your stomach. It's not so good. You can put them in your armpit as well too, because even though you're taking that body, you're going to cool down your core temperature under your armpit. But the most important thing right now is to get your hands warm. If your hands are not warm, you are in major trouble. Understand that. You are in big trouble. So by getting your hands warm under your armpit, against your bare skin, or on your stomach, or sticking them right down your pants and your crotch, where you can get that warmth to your fingers and get that circulation back and get your hands back. If you don't get that, you're in major trouble up there. There are, again, safety factors here that are very important. You have to take these into consideration and protect all of that stuff. If you don't, it is game over. This is no place to be playing around, being a mile away from everybody out in the woods. Oh, if something happens to me, they'll find you. Well, it's 19 degrees out right now. Okay, it's 19, and let's say that it's 19 right now, and it goes down to 12 degrees tonight. If you're out here hunting, it goes down to 12 degrees right at dark. If you fall out of that tree right there and you hit that ground, and nobody comes for you in 3 hours, you could very well be dead. You could be done. 3 hours, you might be completely done, or unable to at least get out on your own, or be in major trouble. So this is nothing to play with. I mean, this is, I don't want to hear about how, oh, it's not wilderness. Oh, I can walk back to the truck. I can crawl back to the truck. Don't play these games in the wintertime. Keep yourself protected. Keep those hands protected. Keep that blood flow. Be safe. Be slow. Be cautious. And then enjoy it. It's a beautiful time to be out in the woods. One of my favorite times. Look at how gorgeous it is out there. I mean, it doesn't get better than that for hunting. You got the sign everywhere. You got deer coming through. You can see them for a mile away, even in the thick stuff. So much advantage to hunting in these kind of conditions. But if you're not doing it safe, you're going to be in a world of hurt and a world of trouble. So that pretty much wraps it up there for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, got a lot out of it, and we'll be back with more stuff soon. So thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.